Will Miami finally become a contender in the ACC in year 3 under Mario Cristobal? We're going to go game by game, give you predictions for this team. First, just some thoughts on the team and the roster. If you look at this offense and you look at the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver positions, just the skill positions, this is the best team by far in the ACC. They are, I think, way ahead of even Clemson and Florida State. You look at the offensive line, they're strong there. It was a good roster last year, so they've definitely underperformed here in the last couple of years based off of the talent they have on the roster. Now on the defensive side, I think the defensive line will be strong, linebackers will be solid. Secondary, maybe not so much. I think if this team has a weakness, it's definitely going to be the secondary. But if they can live up to their potential and play like they're capable of, especially again on the offensive side, Miami is absolutely a team that can win the ACC, that can be the best team in this conference. We just really haven't seen that the last couple of years. And again, will they finally break through this year? We'll see. Let's get to the predictions. We'll start with Vegas. So Vegas is high on the Hurricanes. They've got their over-under at 9.5. So 9-3, 10-2, the most likely scenarios for this Miami team. You look at the schedule. You know, they do play Florida in the non-conference. They play South Florida in the non-conference. They've got Virginia Tech, but at home. They got Florida State, but at home. They've got Louisville on the road. So there are some challenging games, but if you're just looking at the rosters of all these teams, I mean, I don't think there's a team better than Miami on this schedule, except maybe Florida State. Again, looking at the talent on the roster, it doesn't always work out that way, as we have seen, especially with this Miami team. So let's start with the first game here against Florida on the road, August 31st. Going to be a huge, huge game to start off the season. I think everyone's kind of just expecting Miami to go in there and win, but I think it's going to be tougher than a lot of people think. Florida, talent-wise, is still, they've got a lot of talent. This is still a pretty good team. Graham Mertz is a really underrated quarterback, and I just don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. He had a really good season for Florida last year, was really efficient. Of course, the injury kind of messed things up there at the end, but weapons around him, you know, throwing the football, that's going to be the key in this game, because again, Miami is going to have a secondary that I think will struggle, especially game one. Also the run game for Florida, you wonder about Miami stopping that. I think Florida's going to try to slow this game down, run the football, take advantage of their home crowd. And you also wonder about Cam Ward and these receivers. Does it take some time to build up some chemistry? I actually think Florida wins this game. I think Miami goes in there a little overconfident. I think Florida has that underdog mentality, and I think they pull off an upset. Yes, Florida beats Miami. I know both of these coaches have kind of struggled to win some big games, but this is one I'm going to go with the Gators on. The next two games, Florida A&M and Ball State, should be wins. Then you got South Florida, a pretty good group of 5 team. We saw what happened with Alabama last year. The teams are fairly close to each other there. So this is going to be, I think, a really competitive game. I think Miami is a more talented team for sure. But again, South Florida, they're going to be gritty. They're going to fight till the end. I think the depth of Miami will wear them down, just the overall talent here. And Miami will survive. Maybe a similar game to what we saw with Alabama and South Florida last year, except with, I think we'll see more points in this game. Unless the weather does what it did last year. But yeah, I think Miami, they will pull away a little bit in the second half, win by a couple of scores, but not a blowout. I think that should be a good game. The next week you got Virginia Tech, quick turnaround on a Friday night after what could be a kind of tough game against South Florida. This is an interesting matchup here. You look at Virginia Tech's offense and you say, well, I don't really see them being able to throw the football a lot. And so maybe they can't take advantage of this secondary for Miami. But I really like this Virginia Tech defense, and I like the veteran team. This is just a veteran Virginia Tech team against a Miami team that they'll have some young pieces. They'll have a lot of pieces that haven't played together with all the transfers and everything. So I think Virginia Tech just goes in there and finds a way to win. I think it's a low-scoring game. It's kind of what Virginia Tech wants in this game, and I'm going with the Hokies to pull off the upset. So a little bit of a rough start here for Miami as they get to 3-2. The next week they'll play at California. The good news is the Virginia Tech game's a Friday game, so you do have a one extra day to get out west and all that. You wonder about that potentially affecting them traveling, but I think this Miami team is just too good. Cal's defense not going to be very good. I think Miami scores a lot of points in this game, and they win pretty easily. So I'm going Miami. And I think by this game, I think they learn a lot from the Virginia Tech game, and the offense, I think they'll start clicking the rest of the season. They play Louisville the next week, actually get a bye week before playing Louisville on October 19th. A Louisville team that's going to want to run the football. I feel like I don't know for sure how good their passing attack is going to be. It's on the road, so this is going to be a tough one for Miami. But again, I think their offense is starting to play a little bit better by this time. And I don't know if Louisville is going to be able to score enough in this game. Again, I think when Miami gets going, I think their offense is going to be one of the best offenses, maybe in the country, but definitely in the ACC. So I'm going Miami to go on the road and get a win here. I was very close on Virginia Tech and Louisville, and I originally had those flipped. I had them beating Virginia Tech, losing to Louisville. But, you know, I've said this before. I'm trying to get away from just picking the home teams all the time when it's going to be a close game. I do think, again, the veteran team of Virginia Tech, that's going to play big for them. And I think Miami, again, offensively playing pretty good by this point. They go on the road and they get a win. All right, Florida State the next week at home. I just don't think Florida State's going to have the type of offense that can stretch the field, and I don't think their passing game is going to be great this year. So they'll run the football similar to what we'll see from Florida and Virginia Tech. I think Miami's defense, I think, will also start to play better. They're going to have a lot of young pieces on that side of the ball that maybe won't start, but will see significant playing time. And so you look at Florida State's defense, they're going to be really solid. I think this is a lower scoring game. Maybe not a low scoring game, but not a shootout. And Miami playing at home, I think, again, this offense is clicking by this time, and I think I trust their offense a little bit more, and I think they make some plays to win it. It's going to be a good one. I can see Florida State winning, but I'm going Miami. I just think overall their explosive offense will be the difference. You've got Duke next on November the 2nd. Don't really expect a whole lot from Duke this year. I think Miami, especially at the line of scrimmage, should dominate this game, and I think they take down Duke to get to 7-2. Georgia Tech the next game on the road. They've struggled against Georgia Tech for whatever reason. I think this could be one where they slip up. It's going to be a road game. Georgia Tech is a sneaky good, tough place to play. It's a Georgia Tech team that, they're going to be gritty. Their defense will be feisty in this game playing at home, but I don't know if they're going to have enough, especially to stop the run game for Miami. We talk about Miami's passing game. They're going to have a really good run game as well. They're going to be very balanced and very explosive offensively. And I think the run game for Miami is going to be too much for Georgia Tech, and just the balance on offense for Miami. You can't just take one thing away because they can beat you in another way, and I think that'll be the difference here. Miami's balanced attack beats Georgia Tech. They get Wake Forest on November 23rd after a bye week. Wake Forest is going to have pretty good offense, and they'll probably be able to throw the football, and they'll score some points in this game, but I don't think it'll be enough. I think Miami wins a fairly high-scoring game, but again, they pull away here in this one. They close things out with Syracuse. I think a lot of people high on Syracuse, thinking maybe this is a game that Miami could lose, and they could, yes. But I think Syracuse is a little bit overrated. It's going to be a good team, a solid team, but you look at the talent, you look at these two rosters and how they match up. I mean, it's not even close. Miami is a much, much better roster, and I think even on the road, they're able to get this win. So I've got Miami beating Syracuse, losing a couple of games, but only one game in the ACC, so that probably puts them in the ACC championship, unless there were to be like a three-way tie or something like that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really good season for Miami. I know I picked them to go to the college football playoff a few years ago, and I looked pretty dumb. But yeah, I think they lose a couple of games. But again, you look at the schedule; they'll be favored in potentially every game that they play. And I think this talented roster, it finally comes together for Mario Cristobal. They have a really solid season, and they go 10-2. What are your thoughts on this team? Your predictions? Let me know down in the comments below.